Today, I'd like to talk about the practical side of war, the side that hits you and me in the pocketbook as taxpayers. I'm going to have to look away from the screen the camera a few times because I'm reading from I'm going to have to read my notes because I want to give you some pretty interesting statistics, which of course is at my age, it's tough to remember what happened 3 minutes ago, much less statistical information. But let's put it this way. First of all, is it a war or not? On Meet the Press, the question was asked, Kristen asked the question of our UN ambassador, is it a war? And he wouldn't answer it. The Republicans are waffling that it's not. Let's face it, folks. Now, the president seems to know it's a war. So that's very strange. He's the only one that seems to really get it. It is a war. A war is any conflict between two nations that comes under arms, where there's actual fighting of one type or another. I don't care whether it's a drone, a missile, or one man shooting a rifle at another. It's a war. It's not anything but. Now, of course, we can go back, for those of you who were still alive at the time, probably most of you weren't, Korea. Korea was called a police action. It wasn't a war, it was a police action. Also ridiculous, because it was a war. Obviously, we refer to it now as the Korean War. We don't refer to it as the Korean police action. As far as I'm concerned, based on over 8 decades of being on this earth, what we are doing in Iran will change absolutely nothing. The only thing that might change is the ability to have Iranian oil, which will make the rich richer. But all in all, nothing at all will change as far as our security goes, our nation's security. We still have Russia to worry about. We have China to worry about. Most importantly, we have North Korea that everybody seems to have forgotten about for a while, who are still sitting there in the background, along with other countries who wish us ill all over the world. I worry about them. I've never worried about Iran. Iran is not a worry for us as Americans in this country. Yes, Israel's got a problem with them. But it's a Middle East problem. It's not our problem. And it's not going to come over to us, at least as far as I know. And again, I'm also only basing it on my own personal experience. Let's talk about the cost of war. Forget about the cost of war in lives, because it's horrible. I dread the loss of even one life in what took place in Iran so far, and the lives that will be lost in the coming days. But let's talk about the costs on a practical level, and that's dollars and cents, money out of our tax-paying pockets. The first 4 days, 100 hours, the first 4 days of this war cost us an estimated $3.7 billion. If you were to include deployments and interceptors, it's estimated we could increase that to around $11 billion for the first 4 days. It's costing us up to $1 billion a day The actual cost is estimated between, including what's going on right now, it's estimated to be between 900 million and $1 billion per day. It's actually costing us $1 billion a day right now. If it escalates, more carriers, missiles, missile defense, and especially if we put boots on the ground, which is going to be a strong possibility at this time, even if it's just for mopping up, it's going to cost us $2 to $3 billion a day. Let's put this in perspective of history, and maybe that'll give you some idea. The average daily cost of recent major U.S. wars. The Vietnam War cost us a total of $1 trillion, roughly. Now, these are all rough estimates, but $1 trillion. The average cost per day of the Vietnam War was $270 million per day. And that's with tens of thousands of troops on the ground. The Iraq War, which we all think of as being a relatively short war, cost us $2.9 trillion, or $870 million per day. The Afghan War, where we didn't have, a lot of troops on the ground, we didn't have a lot of things going on except for, as far as we're concerned, it still cost us $2.3 trillion for 20 years, over 20 years, $315 million a day. In the first days, the estimate of the Iran war is $3.7 to $11 billion for the initial phase only. For the first 4 days, $900 million to $2.7 billion per day. The figures aren't in totally now, so we don't really know exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be expensive. Wars are horribly expensive. And if it escalates, it's going to be even more. And if it escalates as far as time goes, we think of the Iraq War as being relatively short. But believe it or not, it was 2003 to 2011. 8 years. 10 years for Vietnam. 20 years for Afghanistan. Wars are neither short nor cheap. And we're going to be spending a ton on this. And that's coming right out of the American pocket. What's the cost to us from the American pocket, as far as the American pocket goes? First of all, I said it last time on my last podcast, 15.4 million vets are disabled in the United States. 32,000 are homeless. What could we do for them with this money? With 1 day's money. Come on. The money spent in 1 day. What could we do? The U.S. population is 349 million right now. 48, and this I just heard this morning, which is what prompted me to do this podcast today. I was listening to the CBS Sunday Morning, where I heard the statistic that there's not enough food for 48 million people in this country. 14 million are children. That's 14% of our population, 1/7 of the population. Approximately 2 out of every 10 people don't have enough food to survive in our country, the richest country in the world. Where are we going wrong? Pouring billions, probably up to $1 trillion into Iran when it could be going to feed our hungry. Think of it this way. You've got 10 neighbors. 2 of those families don't have enough food to live on. Shameful. Absolutely shameful. What has been done since January of 2025? In the federal workforce, it was cut by 12%. Now, I will grant that there's a lot of fat in the federal workforce. But 50,000 workers either accepted buyouts, tens of thousands were laid off across various agencies. In the Department of Education, our children, it was cut in half. Health and Human Services cut by 20%, downsized. Staffing in the Treasury Department, 24% down. Now, for a lot of us, that sounds pretty good because they have less people to do audits and perhaps check our tax returns. But still, it's a big cut. For education and youth programs, we cut teacher training and school mental health. Now, this is all since January of 25, when President Trump came into office. We cut teacher training and school mental health grants. We cut education social service grants. Over $12 billion for K-12 and higher education initiatives were either disrupted or terminated. Problems that were proposed to be eliminated: Job Corps, AmeriCorps, the Economic Development Administration programs, public health programs, CDC data systems, and disease tracking databases paused or suspended. 40% reduction in NIH funding. When I was in college, I worked for the Office of Research and Projects at Southern Illinois University in my undergraduate days and in my graduate days as well. And trust me, NIH funding was important because it funded health-related areas that saved lives. That's been cut by 40%. The World Trade Center, 20% of the staff's been eliminated for the World Trade Center health program. Climate change and environmental programs, 73% cut. $1.7 billion taken out of climate research laboratories, regional climate data programs, sea grant programs, severe weather research institutes. Think about it. Think about the chances of having a tornado take your house like just destroyed because of a tornado. Or if you're in Florida because of a hurricane, or on the East Coast, a hurricane. How is the Iran war going to help you with that? Spending money on that war, how's it going to help you prevent your house going into the ocean, or from ending up in Kansas? violence prevention programs. They reduced the violence prevention programs by $158 million. A fraction of, well, 1/10 of one day of fighting in Iran. Diversity and social programs were cut. Preschool development grants cut by $315 million. Removal of thousands of government web pages and resources related to DEI, gender identity, and related research topics. Foreign policy and peace programs were done. No, we'll forget about the peace programs. We'll just fight a war instead, which makes the Trump's new organization a joke, his peace organization. Oversight and administrative offices, even Homeland Security got hit. How did they get hit? Not in funding for the ICE. No, they got hit by closing security oversight. The ones who watch the watchers. Now, not everything was fully wiped out. There's still a lot around. No problems, without a problem. VA was affected greatly in the last year. The staffing was cut by 30,000 employees by hiring freezes, buyouts, and attrition. Tens of thousands of unfilled healthcare positions were eliminated. What does this affect for vets like me? My appointment wait times are horrible. My mental health services go down the tubes, and trust me, one of the biggest problems with vets is not physical, it's mental. Anyone who is a relative of a veteran knows the mental stress that a vet is under. And simple administrative processing, trying to get something done through the VA is like crazy. Now, there are proposed changes to the disability rating rules, which are ridiculous. Thank goodness they've put a hold on that, because it makes no sense. Women's health policy, veterans health policy, they stopped providing abortion services, reversing their previous policy to allow them in certain cases. Although emergency pregnancy care does remain. The abortion is important, I think, because in the service, there is rape. It's there, it's present, especially when you have men and women together. And even if it's not rape, that should be an option for a woman. She should have the right to make a choice, and if that choice is for an abortion, she should have that covered. Thankfully, nothing has been affecting Social Security yet. However, there is a long-term issue, and that is Social Security is expected to run out of money somewhere around 2034, or at least have a shortfall. They won't run out of money, but they'll have a shortfall by 2034. In summary, the question is, why? Why are we fighting a war in Iran when we have so much going on in this country that needs financial assistance? It's up for you folks to decide. I can only give you the statistics and tell you that things like SNAP, 18.7 billion dollars has been taken away annually from them. School and food stamps, $1.1 billion is taken away. Climate program funds, 27 billion. NOAA, our oceans, climate science cuts, 1.7 billion. Medicaid health insurance cuts, hundreds of billions of dollars over time. HHS discretionary budget proposal, 31 to 32 billion cuts proposed. CDC public health programs, 4 billion proposed cuts. What about environmental and climate related funding? 30 to 32 billion dollars gone. Our national parks, we don't worry about those national parks. 24% of the workforce was cut. 4,000 employees. I saw in one case where the one gentleman said, "Who's going to clean the outhouses?" NPS budget cut $1 billion, which thankfully was mostly blocked. Construction funds, $73 million in construction. Historic preservation, $197 million was cut for historic preservation, yet the president tore down half of the or not the half, but a good chunk of the White House to put up this ballroom, which is not historic. The West Wing was historic, but we don't care about that. Grant programs for national parks, 26 million gone. All of these could be covered by this war. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just throwing out there that it makes no sense to me. I wish it did. But it's something for everybody to think about, something for you to think about. And again, that's all I've got to say about that. Have a good one.